Hi, I'm Dave May, and this is mesh troubleshooting. Oftentimes when you have mesh failures, either with a part or an assembly, you'll get an error that says that the part was not watertight, right? So it's a watertightness error, we call that. There's a few different things you can look at to determine, what may be the cause of this. If you look over here in the model tree, notice my part 1, the icon, just looks normal, as does my CAD Mesh Options icon. But if you ever see a red trim around that icon, or around either of them, actually it will show up on both if it shows up on one, that represents a feature matching warning. Okay, so if you right-click on CAD Mesh Options and you go to Feature Matching, you can see the size that the model used to match the features together of the CAD imported geometry, right? So a lot of times you'll see something like multi-matched or unmatched features, and if you do, you can go ahead and move the slider, either coarser or finer, and try and reduce those. I recommend going finer. It represents the geometry more accurately. So if that causes you to have unmatched or multi-matched features, then you probably likely do have a more problematic CAD model. Okay, so oftentimes you can do that to get rid of feature matching warnings. Now, again, if you have a water tightness error, since that's probably the most common of the mesh issues I've seen, one way to get around them is to mesh the model finer, right? So if you start on a coarse mesh, or if you even start with a default mesh, something like that, oftentimes that size of element will just be too large for some aspects of the geometry. So meshing the model a little bit finer will sometimes help alleviate that. Another way to try and change the mesh, and this is kind of a quick way that you can change the whole approach it uses to meshing, so it very well may save you a lot of other steps. If you just go into Options and then go all the way down to the Model section, there's a flag here, Use Automatic Geometry-Based Mesh Size Function, which certainly is a mouthful. But what this does is it automatically sizes the mesh differently around curved features, around small parts versus large parts, that type of thing. We can turn that off. Okay, this might be something you want to try turning off and remeshing to see if that helps get around your issues. Lastly, if you have an assembly, there's surface imprinting. So I can imprint within parts of a single part if it's a surface model, but for assemblies you may want to turn off imprinting if you're running into meshing issues. Okay, so you may sacrifice your mesh matching a little bit between parts 1 and 2 or what have you. So it may not match quite as well there, but if it gets the model to mesh, that may be worth it to you depending on the situation. If you still continue to have trouble getting your model to mesh, feel free to contact either your reseller or the Autodesk Algor tech support team directly, and they'll try and work with you to determine the specific causes for your current situation.